Where does it spill out in our lives? Well, anger can spill out anywhere, in the supermarket, at work, at home, and even in the car, such as road rage. So what is anger really? What is it when you break it down? What is anger? Well, it's pent-up energy, emotion that cannot be articulated into words. So quite simply, it's pain. Emotional maturity. Now, maybe an adult that's drunk can get angry. Maybe an adult with mental health issues will get angry. Or even somebody that's injured or sick can get quite angry. But in general, a mature, balanced adult doesn't often get angry. So, if anger is pain, where does it come from? Good question. Here are a few possibilities, but not all. Maybe come from a breakdown of a relationship, maybe loss of a family member or a pet, maybe end of a career or retirement, and quite often from past traumas, sometimes even from habitual behavioral patterns.
What the hell?
Maybe
No!
somebody has learnt that they get their own way if they can continually to show bad behavior. That's often something we see and reflected in children that aren't taught about boundaries. So it's generally, more often than not, it's from trauma and short-term recent trauma that hasn't been exercised or expressed. Okay, how can you mitigate it? Well, the real answer is you cannot stop pain. It's going to be painful no matter what. You can't get around it. Maybe you can get drunk, maybe you can abuse substances, but the pain is still there until time has passed, until you exercise and talk through your issues and get counseling. So pain is suffering, is part of the human condition. You haven't lived and loved and enjoyed your life if you haven't suffered at some point. You would be a very, very well wrapped up in cotton wool and shielded from the whole of life and society if you have never suffered pain. So that's basically the only way you can avoid it. Actually, having pain is a time for learning. You reflect on yourself, you reflect on what's important, and you reflect on how important the short time we have on this planet is. Suffering and pain is part of life. There's no getting away from it. What you slowly learn over time, or you hope to achieve, is how to slowly help it dissipate, how you can get through those times. So, after a period of time, there are some strategies that you can implement that can help dissipate some of the pain. Now, the most obvious is counseling. Now, lots of people never believe counseling is worth the money or have the time for or can find the right therapist or even understand what use is therapy. But there's a brilliant book, Robert DeBord, Counseling for Toads, really helped me and others understand the importance of counseling and what it actually does, how it helps you grow and move through the pain and suffering and come out the other side having learnt some lessons, and still having wanting a life and enjoying life. So counselling is the best option. If you can't afford counselling, and what I often do is exorcism. I exorcise the trauma. So for example, I might write down a letter of my disgruntled and unhappy feelings and my anger and my frustrations and all the rage I have in a pen on paper, and write it to the person that I'm very angry with, and then I burn it. Other things people do often in other therapies is writing a letter and attaching it to a balloon so it goes off into the universe. There are lots of different therapies and ways you can exercise your unhappiness, especially if you cannot contact that other person. All right, so exorcism is a really good way of letting that go and getting it out of you. Now, it is recommended, and I recommend, talking as much as possible about your frustrations and the thing that's making you angry, especially if it's one specific thing, like a trauma or a relationship or a career change or your pet dying. I really recommend talking about it as much as you can. Just consider it free therapy. Just getting it out of your system. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, people may be sick of it. That's why it's good to have a broad scope of friends and support network. And if you have to, ring up some free services, talk to people online, connect with other groups so you're able to just get it out again and again and again and again and again until you're fed up with getting out, until you're sick of saying it, until you feel that you've really exhausted that emotion and those feelings, until it becomes more numb to you, until it becomes less important in your life and other things become more important and fill you with happiness and joy, and you're able to slowly let go and allow that pain to dissipate. Another way of moving forward and trying to alleviate the pain is reframing. If you're able to reframe a situation, a circumstance, then you're much more likely to get a different perspective. Often you can go back in your mind and you can look at an event that happened in your life, and you could look at it again, maybe in slow motion, maybe in black and white, maybe from the other person's perspective, maybe as a comic strip. If you're able to change it in your mind, how something had happened, often you can detach the pain from it. You can visualize it differently in your mind, whether there's sound, whether it's black and white, whether it's slow motion, all these different things, like the ability to have a remote control and go back in your head, rewind and change things. Really help the idea of framing from a different perspective, a different attitude, a different understanding. Because we all appreciate that when we were younger, we may have been naughty, wrong, did something challenging, and then felt bad about the way we were treated. But then decades later, as adults, we look back at that same incident and think, okay, maybe that was justified. Okay, maybe I was a cheeky little monkey and I deserved that. And so having an adult perspective from decades later does reframe that whole situation and scenario. I had one as a young man. I was sucking my thumb. I must have been like 12 years old. And I had the remote control from the TV thrown at me, and it, hit my head, and I cried or whatever. And now looking back, decades later, I not only see a different style of parenting, you know, from the time it was, but also the fact that that person was trying to help me get out of a habit, trying to help me have the issues of maybe wonky teeth in the future, you know, being a bit more sociable, not sucking my thumb at an older age. So I can see the benefit and the reasons behind why that happened when it did, with a lot less emotional connection. In fact, I kind of look at it as in a loving way now. You know, it was done with it was actually done with love in that person's heart. So one way of reframing something can make a big difference if it's not too painful and deep within your bones. Then reframing can sometimes really help. There are a lot of other tools and strategies to help you deal with this pain. Now, some things you can do. You can police yourself, more from a personal perspective. You can police yourself with the kind of media you absorb. So if you absorb a lot of negativity on the news, now I don't watch the news. I actually specifically look for positive things on the internet, you know, kindness, joyfulness. And I often, on my own, cry when I see something heartfelt, when, you know, another animal is helping another animal, or people come together to save an animal's life. Maybe a dog is drowning in a fast river. These things really connect me and make me feel I am part of the human race. I am a human after all. So policing yourself with what media you absorb, all right, is very important. Also, the type of people you surround yourself with. You know, if you're surrounded by negative, angry people, then that's going to have an influence on you. Another thing you can do for yourself is exercise. Now, I know everybody talks about exercise helps you with anger, blah, 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 going to the gym and all this. Now, I don't condone hitting a punch bag or getting into an aggressive fight in a boxing match or in some kind of martial arts. I don't think that's positive. What I think is positive is being more connected into something like yoga or Pilates, where you accept yourself, love yourself, be kind to yourself. All right, you're not out of your head thinking about fighting somebody else, a punch bag or a person. You're not still pushing out that energy, that negativeness. You're thinking inwards. You're thinking about yourself, your body, your breathing, your connectivity to the ground. And so going for yoga, Pilates, or just walking out in nature. Now, it's very hard to stay angry when you're walking out in nature and all you can hear is birds, maybe a tractor, maybe the stream or the trees. That's a very stark contrast from sirens and bells and horns and lights and people shouting in the street in a city or a town. Seeing dogs in the countryside happy and giving them a biscuit. Silly little things like this really do make it easier to be happy. Squelching your wellies in a puddle and in the mud as you're walking across a field in the middle of nature really does a lot of good for helping calm that body and feeling connected. So connecting with yourself and with nature is a huge thing. The more you can do it, the more it becomes addictive. Being in nature, you may find that you want to go to nature every single day. Just being in nature and being around green grass, hearing dogs and birds is just priceless. So I mentioned self-love. Now also you could think about playing an instrument, you know, really being in the zone and enjoying that moment, or painting, enjoying doing an activity or hobby you really like and you really get connected and enjoy. You can join groups and make new friends and have new experiences, happy experiences, positive experience. Maybe doing something with the community. Community gardening, community recycling, community composting, stuff that connects you with other happy, like-minded people can really make a big difference. Likewise, looking for laughter, watching comedies, watching happy films, romance films, being silliness, finding pranks and funny jokes, connecting with other people and just having a laugh, providing you're appropriate and do it in the right places. These things can really help you think about yourself being happy. You know, going to festivals, minus the alcohol, but building up those positive, happy times and building up your desired lifestyle. Also, I almost mentioned and almost forgot, reading good quality books. So such as 𝐶𝐸ₐ 𝐽, Peace in Every Step, or the Dalai Lama, The Art of Happiness, or Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, can really help with your perspective. All right, some really good books. Side note, many studies have said that for a good night's sleep, having sex in the evening or masturbation can really reduce anxiety and levels of stress and help you sleep better. Okay, wrapping this all up here, these are my key takeaways. 1. Anger is pain. Number 2, anger is not often the intention and comes often with regret from somebody. Number 3, anger is normally short-lived and will dissipate with pain. Dissipate pain with time? Anger is normally short-lived as the pain dissipates with time. There we go. Number 4, give yourself a break. You are only human, all right? You will upset people. You will make people fed up with you, all right? But you're only human. Most real good people will forgive you, and if you explain that you've gone through some traumatic times, people will forgive you. And also explaining that will often bring new energy and love and forgiveness and hugs and you know, positive interactions. So tell people you're going through a difficult time. They may well already know. Okay, remember to love yourself. Sounds a stupid thing to say, but give yourself a break. Give yourself some happiness. You don't need an excuse to do something good for yourself. All right, you are a human and you've got a great life to live, and you're going to have some great new experiences. It's well worth it. Trust me, it's well worth it. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.